Hello everybody! Welcome to Aprendo en Casa. I am teacher Evelyn and I'm very happy to be here with you today. Today we're going to have a very nice lesson about oxording and ox cards. And some of the values we can share with this beautiful tradition. I would like to invite you to watch a video about oxording and ox card traditions in Costa Rica. But before, go and tell your family to join us and have the opportunity to enjoy this beautiful video.
Did you know?
Did you know that oxcart were used to transport coffee beans from Costa Rica's Central Valley over the mountains to Punta Arenas in the Pacific coast? This journey used to take from 10 to 15 days.
November 25th, 2020, 15th anniversary since oxarding and oxcart tradition in Costa Rica were declared as masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity by UNESCO.
Wow, very nice and beautiful, right? How this tradition is part of our country. So, as you can see, we're going to talk about oxording and ox cards. Do you like the beautiful colors they have? Okay, very good. Before starting, let's get ready. For this lesson, we're going to need some materials. We're going to need your English notebook, of course. Then, we're going to need a pencil or a pen. Also, a sharpener and an eraser. Some very important reminders. Try to work in a quiet place, avoid loud noises, and also go and wash your hands to prevent COVID-19. Be safe. This is very important. I want to share with you our plan for today's lesson. So let's pay attention. Okay, in this class, we are going to listen to discriminate the main points of a video about oxording and oxcart traditions in Costa Rica. Extract specific details from a video about oxording and oxcart traditions in Costa Rica. Give information about oxording and oxcart traditions in Costa Rica. Okay, very interesting, right? There are a lot of values that we can consider in order when we think about this beautiful tradition, right? Without them, we cannot live because we are social beings and we live in a society full of values and morals, right? So let's see how much you remember about values. Okay, you have to complete this task. It says, look at the following values and classify them according to the correct category, right? Ask your family for help. So we have education, respectfulness, tradition, humanity, love, charity, integrity, hope, equality, and hard work. Okay, and look at the different categories, right? Personal values, cultural values, moral values, social values, and spiritual values. Okay, come on, tell your family to complete it. Look at the different values. Okay, let's look at the answers. Okay, for personal values, we have love and hard work because this is very personal. For cultural values, we have tradition and equality. As moral values, we have integrity and respectfulness. And for social values, we have humanity and education. And as spiritual values, we have charity and hope. Okay, very good. Now that you remember these important values, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do today. Let's pay attention. It says, did you know that in 2005, UNESCO declared Oxfordine and Ox cards as intangible cultural heritage of humanity? Yes, it was because they included intangible knowledge and skills that fit a tradition. So let's look at the task. It says, let's imagine you are at my high school and I am your English teacher. So I decided to ask you to do some research about Oxfordine and Oxcart traditions in Costa Rica on the internet to know more about this beautiful tradition full of values such as hard work, respectfulness, and love. What for? To give a speech to tell students about it. So you decided to watch a video to learn more about this tradition. Very good. What do you have to do? We're going to watch a video that is going to help us to complete the different listening tasks I prepared for you today. So, but before that, I'm gonna ask you this. What do you need, or what is the best way to get the gist in an audio, in a video? Okay, let me give you some tips. What is listening for the gist? It is the most important general information without details, the general information. So try to pick up keywords and other clues to make a guess of the meaning. General information is usually found at the beginning of the passage. Okay, remember, we're going to look for the main idea, for the general idea of this audio, this video we're going to watch. But with this in mind, let's review some very important vocabulary that we need in order to complete our tasks. Okay, tradition, the beliefs, customs, and mores of a culture handed down from one generation to the next. Oxherding, it is the act of pulling an ox cart. Look at the images, because this is going to help you to understand better the word. Next. Oxherd, the person who guides the ox cart, the driver, right? Okay. Ox cart, a cart drawn by an ox or oxen. An ox is one, is singular, and oxen represents plural. Craft, an activity involving skill in making things by hand. For example, painting these beautiful ox carts. Spoke wheels. This is the wheel that we have in the ox cart, right? Then mud. It represents the soil, right? Okay, next. Contest, an event in which people compete to win something, a prize maybe. Highest quality goods, or the opposite, poorest quality goods. That is not very good. And then we have the word symbol, which is a mark, sign, or word that indicates, signifies, or is understood as representing an idea, object of relationship. Okay, very good. With this in mind, we're going to watch a video taken from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO website. But before, let's read the instructions together about the listening task. Okay, task number 1. Watch the video for the first time to get the gist. What is the gist? Do you remember? What is it? Remember, this is the most general idea without any details, okay? So, question, it says, choose the best option to answer the question. Ask your family for help, and do not forget to take notes. This is very important. So we have the questions. What is the video about? A, the creation of ox carts or carretas around the world. B, the traditional ox cart or carreta is the project of Costa Rica's most famous craft. And C, the painting of ox carts or carretas in Costa Rica. Okay, very good. It's time to watch the video for the first time. Let's pay a lot of attention. Tell your family to join us, right? And remember to take notes. Enjoy it.
The traditional ox cart, or carreta, is the product of Costa Rica's most famous craft. Dating from the mid-19th century, ox carts were used to transport coffee beans from Costa Rica's Central Valley over the mountains to Punta Arenas on the Pacific coast, a journey requiring 10 to 15 days. The ox carts used spokeless wheels, a hybrid between the disc used by the Aztecs and the spoked wheel introduced by the Spaniards. This allowed them to cut through the mud without getting stuck. In many cases, ox carts were a family's only means of transport, and they often served as a symbol of social status. The tradition of painting and decorating ox carts started in the early 20th century. Originally, each region of Costa Rica had its own particular design, enabling the identification of the driver's origin by the painted patterns on the wheels. By the beginning of the 20th century, flowers, faces, and miniature landscapes began to appear besides patterns of pointed stars, and to this day, annual contests reward the most creative artists in this tradition. Each ox cart was designed to make its own song, a unique chime produced by a metal ring striking the hubba nut of the wheel as the cart bumped along. Once the ox cart had become a source of individual pride, greater care was taken in their construction, and the highest quality woods were selected to make the best sounds. Today's colourful and richly decorated carretas bear little resemblance to the original rough-hewn rectangular cane-framed vehicles covered by rawhide tarps. While in most regions of Costa Rica, trucks and trains replaced ox carts as the main means of transport, the carretas remain strong symbols of Costa Rica's rural past, and still feature prominently in parades, as well as religious and secular celebrations.
Beautiful video, right? Did you notice that the gist is usually at the beginning of the video? Did you take notes to find the answer? Very good. Okay, so I'm sure you can tell me what the video is about. Let's check the answer. Okay, what is the video about? Well, the correct answer is option B. The traditional ox cart or carreta is the product of Costa Rica's most famous craft. Excellent job, guys. Okay, now I like to tell you what ox carts represents for Costa Ricans and people around the world. So I'm gonna tell you that. The oxardine is a value and a tradition that Costa Ricans and many people around the world appreciate. These carts represent labor, but they also represent more than that. They tell the story of an optimistic country, of people that worked hard to progress and found a way to bring beauty to their sacrifices. The arduous and fervent labor of its people. They are perceived as a window to Costa Rica's optimistic vision of life, love, humanity, sacrifice, and hard work to pursue goals in a pacific and progressive manner. Okay, very good, excellent. Now that we know what they represent, it's time to watch the video for the second time. But this time, we're going to get details from the video. So let me give you some tips that you can follow in order to get the details in this video. Okay, what is listening to get details? The listener can't afford to ignore anything because he or she doesn't know exactly what information of the listening passage will be necessary to complete the task. So you can't ignore information. Everything is important. This term is sometimes confused with listening for specific information, which is applied to occasions in which we don't have to understand everything that is being said, but only a very specific part. Okay, now you have to listen for everything, right? Pay attention to every single detail. And it's time to watch the video for the second time. But before, I'm going to present you the instructions of what you have to do. It says, task number 2, watch the video for the second time to get some details. Write true or false next to each sentence. So number 1, ox carts were used to transport rice. The ox carts were a family's only means of transport. 3, the tradition of painting and decorating ox carts started in the early 20th century. Poor care was taken in the construction of the ox carts, and poor quality woods were selected to make the best sounds. The ox carts remain strong symbols of Costa Rica's rural past and still feature prominently in parades and in religious and secular celebrations. Okay, now you know the instructions. You have some tips that you have to follow to get details. Remember that you have to pay attention to words or phrases to help you understand better. Okay, so let's watch the video for the second time.
Is the product of Costa Rica's most famous craft. Dating from the mid-19th century, ox carts were used to transport coffee beans from Costa Rica's Central Valley over the mountains to Punta Arenas on the Pacific coast, a journey requiring 10 to 15 days. The ox carts used spokeless wheels, a hybrid between the disc used by the Aztecs and the spoked wheel introduced by the Spaniards. This allowed them to cut through the mud without getting stuck. In many cases, ox carts were a family's only means of transport, and they often served as a symbol of social status. The tradition of painting and decorating ox carts started in the early 20th century. Originally, each region of Costa Rica had its own particular design, enabling the identification of the driver's origin by the painted patterns on the wheels. By the beginning of the 20th century, flowers, faces, and miniature landscapes began to appear besides patterns of pointed stars, and to this day, annual contests reward the most creative artists in this tradition. Each ox cart was designed to make its own song, a unique chime produced by a metal ring striking the hubber nut of the wheel as the cart bumped along. Once the ox cart had become a source of individual pride, greater care was taken in their construction, and the highest quality woods were selected to make the best sounds. Today's colourful and richly decorated carretas bear little resemblance to the original rough-hewn rectangular cane-framed vehicles covered by rawhide tarps. While in most regions of Costa Rica, trucks and trains replaced ox carts as the main means of transport, The carretas remain strong symbols of Costa Rica's rural past and still feature prominently in parades, as well as religious and secular celebrations.
Well done. Could you find important details? Did you pay attention to specific words and didn't ignore anything from the audio, from the video? Okay, very good. Did you take notes? All right, let's check the correct answers together. Okay, number 1 says ox carts were used to transport rice. This is false because they were used to transport coffee beans, right? Number 2, the ox carts were a family's only means of transport. It's true. The tradition of painting and decorating ox carts started in the early 20th century. True. Number 4, poor care was taken in the construction of the ox carts, and poor quality woods were selected to make the best sounds. This is false because they used the highest quality woods, right, to construct the ox carts. And number 5 says the ox carts remain, let's go back to number 5. Thank you. The ox carts remain strong symbols of Costa Rica's rural past and still feature prominently in parades and in religious and secular celebrations. Excellent job. I'm sure you could solve all the different tasks, right, with the help of your family and following the tips I gave you before. So you are great students. Now that you have listened to learn more about oxherding and ox cart traditions in Costa Rica, let's prepare our speech. Are you ready? So do you remember what you have to do? Remember that you were going to listen to an audio twice in order to help you get more information to prepare a speech and inform others about this beautiful tradition called oxherding. So remember that we can use certain expressions for doing the speech. So let's look at the expressions you can use. A greeting, for example, hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Then you are going to introduce yourself. Let me introduce myself. My name is, then you present the topic I would like to tell you about, and other expressions like I hope, use connectors, for example, in addition, and finally use a leave taking or farewell. Thank you very much for your attention. Okay, very good. Now you have the information and you can prepare the speech with the help of your family. But before, I want you to listen to Josemir. Josemir is one of my students and he prepared his speech. Let's pay attention to him. It's about his family, specifically about his grandfather.
Hi, Teacher Evelyn. Good afternoon. Let me introduce myself. My name is Joseph. I'm very grateful and proud to be here today with you all and share this wonderful story. I would like to tell you about Napoleon. He is my grandfather and I consider he's one of the kindest person I know. I'm going to tell you why. My grandpa is 89 years old and he's an ox herd. An ox herd is a person who guides the ox cart. Throughout my life, he has been telling us wonderful and funny stories full of hard work, values, and motivation. Furthermore, he used to take me fishing. He also says that the ox herd was not only in charge of guiding the oxen and the cargo, but also for caring for the animals and maintaining the cart. Ox herds worked under the rain, the sun, the swamps, in mud, day and night, and their effort to bring exports to the main ports of Costa Rica. Teacher, just like in the video, as we can see, ox cars are not a means of transportation. They represent the spirit of the country. I love participating in parades and at celebrations with my grandfather. In addition, He told me that the ox carts were more than an economic stimulus and work of art. Well, Teacher Evelyn, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to tell you about my story and how the ox herding has been in my life for generations. I hope you had a great time.
Thank you very much, Josemir. Well, your grandfather is unique. I'm sure many people learn a lot with your help. Okay, it's time to self-assess what we did during today's lesson. Did I follow all the instructions carefully? Did I complete the listening task proposed? Did I prepare my speech about ox herding and ox cart traditions in Costa Rica based on the video? I'm sure you did it and you presented it to your family. So let's look at the others. I discriminated the main points of a video. Yeah, because you got the main idea, the gist. And also you extracted the specific details, right, from the video. And you gave information or the speech about ox herding and ox cart traditions in Costa Rica. Well, so we have to come to the end of the program. But I'd like to tell you something. Did you know that white oxen are called maizoles and the black ones are called chumicas? Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. See you next week here in Aprendo en Casa. Bye-bye.